It's Unqualified Gamers, episode 71, starring Cody Goff.
You look ridiculous when you do that
Hey,
with your
John.
arms.
Hey, John, how are you doing this evening
I'm doing
slash afternoon slash morning slash night?
I'm doing awesome
Great. Why are you doing awesome? Elaborate, Jonathan Martin,
because
the
I'm
other
I'm
host.
not at work and I'm thinking about all of the great things I'm going to do when I'm done doing this stupid podcast with you.
The one that I make you do every week?
Right. So like all of the things that I'm going to do after this thing, it's making me very excited.
Well, let's get right into it. So, listener, today do you have a video? So, listener, first, if you've never listened before, we don't plan things because we're terrible at what we do, hence unqualified. John, are you even talking about a game this week, or?
I'll follow up a little bit on Batman since I've played some more of it.
But otherwise, no main
Nope,
dish.
nothing super new.
Okay. I also have nothing super new, but I would like to talk a little bit about Nintendo 3DS Street Pass for a very
There's
specific reason.
there's a couple of big news pieces I think would prompt some interesting discussion as well.
Yes. I'm outlining our general episode so that whomever is hearing us
Has an
talk
outline, right?
has a rough outline, not in no particular order, thus making it not an
If
outline.
you open your Google Documents,
Mhm.
you can find the outline that Cody has uploaded.
That's not a thing I'm going to do.
So
I'm not
he's
doing that.
uploaded a document
I've
for you,
not-
listener, so you can
I've
follow us with an outline.
No.
He's also mailed you note cards, and you can
Not-
use these note cards to further follow everything he's going to be talking about.
Yeah, not doing that. Far too much effort. But thanks for playing. Speaking of playing, so we'll talk about our video games later after our warm-up round where we talk about what you have been playing, listener slash viewer, and that'll be after we talk about some pretty crazy news that's been breaking, which is pretty crazy and news, hence literally why I just called it that. And let's start with talking about our weekends. What did you do this weekend, John?
So this one was my weekend to
You
work,
didn't work.
and I really didn't do anything other than work. I worked and then I came home and I played a little bit of video games. Last night was this ridiculous exercise in frustration. It was the most beautiful weekend weather-wise I have maybe ever seen. Both Saturday and Sunday were like 75 degrees, no humidity, sunny the whole day.
Fahrenheit.
I worked 9 to 6 both of those days, right? So like I already killed almost all of like the best part of the day by working. Saturday I went to the gym right after work. I was there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and when I came home, I basically ate, hung out with my wife and my boy, and then we went to bed. That was my Saturday. Sunday was my exercise in futility. I came home and it's time to mow the yard, right? Like the grass is really long, and I finally got a nice day where I've got some extra time. Like today's the day I'm going to mow the yard. So I get out the lawnmower. It's the first time I've used it this season, and it won't start. And my extent of knowledge with like tools with engines in them is about like it goes to the extent of I took out the air filter and cleaned it, and then I was done. Oh, and I added oil and I added gasoline. That was the extent of my knowledge on how to fix things,
Did
right?
that fix it? Did that fix it?
No, it didn't. Apparently, the problem is far more detailed than that. I wish at some point in my childhood that I had like learned how. There are certain things that I'm handy with. It's very few things, but certain things I'm handy with. But in general, I am not handy at all. And now that I own a house, it is so apparent sometimes, and it is so frustrating. So, like, I don't have a lawnmower I can use.
So
Right.
how handy are you with stuff?
It's like you don't listen to me when I talk.
About what?
So that was yesterday, and then you don't listen to a word that I say. And then that was it. Like that's been my that was my weekend. So it was not eventful. It was not eventful. How was yours?
Mine was the opposite, as it is
Wait a
wont to
minute.
be.
You mowed a yard?
I mowed a yard, but I had problems turning off the engine.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I have not mowed a lawn in over 10 years. So I probably don't remember how to do it.
It's not that hard. You like walk back and forth behind a device that pretty much does the work for you.
Oh, I was really good at it when I used to do it. I was great at it, but
I
then
believe you.
stopped.
No, I believe you. You seem pretty
So,
spunky. You seem pretty spunky about it. I believe you.
so I'm specifically wearing this Dragon Ball Z t-shirt because this weekend I was at Anime Central, or ACEN, as it is colloquially known in the Chicagoland area,
It's
or
not even.
everywhere.
It's everywhere is known that. I mean, like their banners say ACEN, right?
Oh, no, actually, my badge says Anime Central. I thought it would say ACEN, but pretty much everything else says ACEN.
Is it
So,
like the biggest one in the Midwest?
probably.
Okay.
They were advertising a couple in Milwaukee or Madison, but probably half of the people I street passed with were from Wisconsin, so
Okay.
I'm guessing that means it's not that great up there.
Okay.
Or this one's just bigger. So I don't know. It was good. It was fun. I will not go into excessive detail about it, but it was interesting to me. There's the difference in demographic between ACEN and Gen Con. Because I've been to ACEN before and Gen Con, and I went to Anime Iowa once, I think, which is like in some guy's basement. No, it was actually at a hotel, but it's very small.
Sure.
And haven't we been to another con? Well, I've been to E3, but that's a trade event. And I feel like we've been to one other thing.
I went to there's a convention up here in Minnesota called Convergence. That's
never
like
went to that.
all things gaming. I went there for one night with a buddy of mine. I don't know.
Okay. And
So-
right. No, now I remember. I've also been to Chicago Comic Con and C2E2, the Chicago Comics and Entertainment Expo,
Right.
which is more like movie entertainment focused than strictly comics. Comic Con is like comic vendors and celebrities. That's straight up it.
Right.
And other than Comic Con, I saw a lot of overlap between C2E2 and Gen Con, and what I thought, I went to ACEN once 2 years ago. I thought there was a lot of overlap there too. I don't even go to C2E2 anymore because almost all the vendors, if not all of the vendors, go to Gen Con, every single one.
Right.
And
So it's like you'll see them all there.
Yeah, plus a few hundred other vendors because C2E2 is like a fifth the size of Gen
Exactly.
Con, right? I'm like, people will be like, "Oh, you're going to C2E2?" I'm like, "That's Gen Con light,
Right.
bitch." So I thought there was like all this overlap and stuff, but demographically, Comic Con and C2E2 and Gen Con especially are very, very male dominated and older. And Guy, we went with our friend Guy, who co-hosted an episode a couple months ago.
Yeah, I was like 63 or 62.
Yeah, something like that. So this Guy, well, it was partially my idea. The decision to come came from there were a couple different conventions I was thinking about going to. Ended up going to this one. Guy said, "I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it." Okay, cool.
Sure. And Guy loves anime, right? I mean, he's a big
Guy
anime fan.
is nuts with anime. Like, we would walk around and he'd be like, "Oh, that's a great Sakura-con." And I'd be like, well, "Who's Sakurai-chan or san or whatever you just said?" And he'd be like, "Oh, well, it's from Legend of Hirami Miyazaki, which in its third season right now in the manga, but of course the anime just started in the first season, and you gotta catch up with that." The main difference is that character's kind of like, and he'd like give me an entire plot summary.
That's
and-
not a bad impression of Guy either. That was actually, I mean, it's a little more, it's kind of a little more Chicago gangster, I think, than Guy kind of sounds.
bit,
But it was
yeah,
pretty good. It was pretty good.
I spent the entire first day just walking around with him, and it was awesome. And I learned, like, I have since Friday forgotten more about anime than
Maybe you ever knew.
I ever knew in the first place. Like, he
Right.
just is an encyclopedia of anime knowledge.
Sure.
But we were walking around. He's really into, like, all of this. He knows all this stuff. He, in fact, he was cosplaying as JoJo from volume 6 or 7 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because there's a different JoJo in pretty much every volume.
Okay,
And
kind of like the Doctor.
kind of like yeah, I guess.
Sure.
And I was cosplaying as Dio Brando, the version from Volume 3, the current anime season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And
Okay.
there are pics on our Google Plus page. You can actually check them out in the gallery. So we're cosplaying and going along, and he's telling me all that stuff about anime, but we got to talking about the demographics, and he would say the median age of ACEN attendees is somewhere between 18 and 21.
The median age?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I felt kind of old
I'm sure you did.
at many times. I would say there were not many people over 30. Whereas Gen Con, I feel like the median age is probably 30, lower 30s.
Maybe.
There's a lot of older
Yeah,
people and
there
not
are.
that many young people.
Oh
Like,
no,
there aren't
there's a
that
lot
many.
of young people. There's a lot of young people there.
There are, but
I think that that's one of the magical things about Gen Con, to be honest.
the
Is
little
that
kids, sicko.
is that it attracts Gen Con specifically. Listener, if you don't know what Gen Con is, it is the largest gaming convention, and it's gaming of all different kinds.
In the world.
It started off as just like tabletop and collectible card gaming, and it branched out into everything. And now it does actually include video games. There's some video game events and things that happen there too. But it really is the largest gaming convention in the world. It's held once a year in Indianapolis, and then they've also got a couple of other ones. I think one is in Australia and one is in California. But we go to that along with like 8 other people every year. So we've been going to that for maybe 15 years straight. It's really been a long time. We're not that old, and I think we've already gone for about 15 or 16 years straight.
2001 is the first year I went. I think you started
And-
going in 99 or 2000.
Right. And I've missed 1 year. I don't think you've missed a single one, right?
I missed 1 or 2.
Yeah. And so in general though, we go every year. And what I was saying was one of the magical things about it is it attracts, because it encompasses all things gaming, all types of games. It really attracts all different ages of gamer. And I mean, you see it the most with like you'll go to like the miniatures area, and there'll be a bunch of old people playing miniatures, like playing Warhammer and things like that, who've been collecting the stuff there for a really long time. Or you'll go to like a live action role playing event. Oftentimes it'll be run by somebody like an old actor or something like that. And then you'll go to like a video game event, and it's nothing but kids that can kick your ass at pretty much whatever game that you're trying to play. But in general, like that's what you see there. So I think that's one of the coolest things about Gen Con is that there's going to be something for us no matter when we go in our lifetimes, right?
Yeah, and that's really convenient because I already
Because you're not
feel-
going to be able to go to ACEN for the rest of your life.
I was going to say, I feel like it didn't feel like it 2 years ago for whatever reason, but as of even this year, I'm kind of like, oh boy, I'm getting on the higher side here. It's a little weird.
Yeah, because you meet a girl that you like, you think she's really cute, and you're like, hey, you want to go grab a drink? And she's like, hang on, I got to go ask my mom if a curfew can be extended. And you're like, that's cool, mom doesn't need to know, because that's what you would say. And then you'd probably slip her a Mickey.
Yeah, see, the problem with approaching girls at ACEN, then, for me, and for anyone, especially any straight male, becomes, is this girl over 17? Because a lot of times it's really hard to tell based
Yeah.
on what they're wearing and their wigs and their costumes and how sexy or not sexy. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was standing in the concession line and I glanced over at this girl and she had kind of short blue hair. And she was taller. She was like 5'8", 5'9", and, you know, pretty skinny, didn't look super young or whatever. And she was talking to some girl and she's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. What, you know, are you in school? Something like that. And the girl's like, her friend, this girl asked her, she's like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 15. And I was just like,
my God.
Well, I'm going to get my pizza and Mountain Dew for $8 and GTFO immediately.
Yeah.
It is not a safe place for adults. Really not. Really not. I hope I think I'm turning red, or is that just a weird tint on my camera?
But did you have a good time?
Yeah, I had fun. I had fun. They had an E-Games arena as well, which was fun. They also have a lot of hentai events. Like after midnight, they have all these like hentai readings and hentai history classes and
I'm
hentai
assuming you have to be like 18, probably. I would.
18 plus. They card at them.
Yep.
And the big thing, the number one event at ACEN that some people come specifically for this event is the rave on Saturday night. And there's a rave in the conventions in the Hyatt, I believe. In the Hyatt? Yeah, there's a rave in the Hyatt.
With
It's
alcohol?
no, but everyone comes messed up. People are like popping drugs and smoking
Did you go?
we couldn't get in because there was about 40. There were about 200 some people in line inside, and then the line wrapped down the block like 2 blocks away, and it was still that long at 3 a.m.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So the rave is like really, really big, and there was a girl with us because our friend Ryan, who also is co-host of this podcast, he and his girlfriend were there, and his girlfriend was not dressed warm enough to stand outside in the what was then freezing cold weather. So that was kind of unfortunate, but yeah, we saw there were ambulances pulled up, there were a couple sirens that went off, we saw people leaving, so it's like it gets nuts, it's really crazy.
Kids today.
I know, right? So I won't keep talking much about it, but I bought one thing in the dealer's room.
Okay.
This is it. You can see it, hopefully.
It's Pidgeot.
It's a stained glass, or it's a poster, but
It's a poster of stained glass.
It's a poster of stained glass. Hold on, I'll get it out of
It's
the
got
the
Pidgeot,
plastic.
and then it's got our Lord and Savior.
For those, well, this is not going to play very well for our audio listeners, but for those watching the podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/unqualifiedpodcast, yes, it has our Lord Helix at the top with Bird Jesus in the middle, Zapdos a little below that. You can see ATV right below him, and then in the bottom corner, of course, is the False Prophet Flareon. So this is my little Twitch Plays Pokemon art that I got in Artist's Alley.
That's pretty awesome.
Very happy about that. Yeah, very nerdy, but obviously I don't care.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I don't have my backpack next to me, but the other thing I did, and this was the main kind of video game thing I wanted to talk about, was I tortured myself for several hours on Saturday. Literally the entire reason I wanted to go to ACEN in the first place was because of a New World music from Final Fantasy.
Right.
And a New World, an intimate evening with Final Fantasy. And
I thought wasn't it Final Fantasy VI specifically, or was that something else?
No, that's the next one.
Okay.
I'm going to Distant Worlds. Yeah, Distant Worlds is the current name of the Final Fantasy Symphony concert series that goes around the world.
Okay.
They're coming to Chicago in August or September, and I have tickets, and that's going to be a 20th anniversary tribute to Final Fantasy VI. And so they're going to play a lot of pieces from that. This was the North American premiere of A New World, music from Final Fantasy, which is chamber music of Final Fantasy music. And Nobuo Uematsu was there. He performed keyboard in one piece. And if you don't know this, listener or viewer from previous episodes, I am a mark for Final Fantasy concerts. I was at the first Dear Friends concert, which was the first fully programmed exclusive video game music only concert in North America, apparently, like in 2002, I want to say. I've been to Dear Friends, More Friends, Distant Worlds. I've almost gotten tickets to like go to Atlanta to see Play, the video game set. Like, I'm obsessed with going to these things, right? So it's my thing. I studied classical music so I can appreciate the music, and so I'm totally obsessed. So the concert was Saturday at 1. I went to bed around 4 a.m., woke up at 6:30 to go stand in line. The convention center didn't open until 8. So I actually got to the line at 7:30, stood outside in 40-degree weather for 2 hours to get my ticket. 2 hours to get my ticket. Got my ticket, realized it was almost 10 o'clock, and I should probably get in line soon for the actual concert, so I got a good seat because it was first come, first served seating. So I proceeded to not go to take a nap, but then instead just headed straight there. I grabbed like a $6 piece of pizza from the concession stand, and then got there. Ended up with a front row seat. It was a little off center. I didn't have a great view, but I was right there, and I saw this concert. So it was about a total of 6 hours of standing in lines or sitting in lines.
Okay.
So
Was this like especially for ACEN?
Especially for ACEN, yeah. They did a show on Friday and they did a show on Saturday.
Weird. That's such a weird tie-in for an anime convention. I mean, I'm not saying that like it's weird that video games were there, but that's so video game specific.
I think it's weird. Their North American concert tours, their current touring schedule is the next performance they have is in Omaha at some other anime convention, and then their next show after that is in Toronto at some random convention.
Weird.
I know, it's really weird. I don't know why they don't just do it in a little concert hall, but whatever. And the tickets were free. The tickets were included with the any ACEN badge holder got the ticket for free.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I mean, minus standing in line for 6 hours, but
and the fact that you paid for your badge.
Yeah, and the fact they paid for the badge, but yeah, so like very weird. I don't know how they're booking it or whatever, but I got in. It was great. There was a string quartet there was a percussionist with a little mini drum kit and a marimba, a flute player, a clarinet player, a guitar player, a trumpet player, and a piano player, and I think a couple other instruments. I can't remember, but maybe like a 10 or 12 person little ensemble, maybe 10 to 15.
Cool.
And I'll just briefly go over my impressions on it. I actually wrote down notes on this. Aren't you impressed?
No.
I didn't think you would be. Now, you've heard all of the orchestra music in recordings, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've heard all the Eris's orchestrated theme and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the cool thing about A New World is they like to perform pieces that haven't been performed, that they're unable to perform with a full orchestra or haven't done the instrumentation for. So they played several songs. They opened with One Winged Angel, which I'm glad they opened with and kind of got out of the way.
Because it's always there at every concert.
Yeah, I think actually we talked about this maybe before. For like 5 years straight, it was the encore. One Winged Angel was the encore piece for literally every video game music concert in the world.
Right.
Video games live, play, like all of them. So it's a bit overdone. So I'm glad they opened with it, kind of got out of the way, and it sounded okay. And then they went into some stuff, and I had an interesting experience. Like, they played Battle with Seymour from Final Fantasy X with just the string quartet. And at first, I remember I was thinking to myself, like, I had the actual song in my head, and I had the Black Mage's version in my head. And it was hard to kind of, like, separate the original from the arrangement in my head, because it's less percussive and things. And then I kind of flipped a switch in my brain about a minute into it and thought to myself, like, just think of it as a string quartet piece and listen to just it the way it is and not as it is a cover of the original. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
And I was able to enjoy it more when I was just, like, listening to it as a string quartet piece.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. I don't know. If you hear a piece done the same way for years and years and years, and then they do it a different way, then I don't know. There's like a thing in your brain. I'd be really interested to like understand the psychology of some of this, but that's way out of our realm of expertise.
Most things are.
Like way out. Yeah, most things. But this especially. So they played that. They played Decisive Battle from Final Fantasy VI and the Red Wings theme from Final Fantasy IV. And I was so excited when they announced Red Wings, but I didn't love the arrangements. And I thought that was kind of interesting because Decisive Battle from Final Fantasy VI is one of my favorite pieces.
It's a great song.
It's amazing. And you know what I think bothered me was they didn't have the bass, the driving bass. Because my two least favorite arrangements of Final Fantasy music were this Decisive Battle theme and when the full orchestra plays Battle with Gilgamesh. Because I think of the driving bass lines, and neither arrangement features that bass line. It focuses more on the melody. You remember, like, the SNES, those really slat bass parts, like in Shadowrun? You know, where it's very, like, boom, 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 boom. You know, like, the MIDI bass is just, like, It's like, oh, you remember for Super Nintendo. That was that. They played A New World, the name of a song from Final Fantasy V, and I freaking loved it, even though I don't care about Final Fantasy V, as we've mentioned.
Uh-huh.
You would know it if you heard it. I'll get to that in a second. There was a piano player that flew in from Germany who recorded the Final Fantasy piano CDs, and he did a solo piano piece. He did the battle music from Final Fantasy VII and something from Final Fantasy XI, which I kind of tuned out because I haven't played 11.
I bet that one was really cool.
It was really cool. They were both really cool. And it was cool to just hear him go for it. They played an arrangement of the Moogle theme from Final Fantasy VI and then mixed in part of it from Final Fantasy XI.
Uh-huh.
Which is kind of interesting. And the 5 pieces that just killed me, that I just loved, absolutely, in no particular order. The Seymour theme was really good. There is a string quartet in Final Fantasy VIII that's orchestrated as a string quartet in the game. I can't remember the name of it, but the string quartet played that live, and that was amazing. Nobuo Uematsu and Arnie Roth, the director, who's also a violinist, they were accompanied by everybody, but they played Dark World from Final Fantasy VI, which is the overworld music in the World of Ruin.
Sure.
Which it was, if you ever can see this live, like, you have to, because it's unreal. They did Xanarkin from Final Fantasy X, which is, of course, obviously beautiful. That was like the heart-wrencher of the evening. And their closing piece was Force Your Way, the battle music, the boss battle music from Final Fantasy VIII, which I had goosebumps like the whole time. I did not think they could do it that well, and they just completely knocked it out of the park. So those are the pieces for those. I thought, maybe our audience may be interested. There's one other piece. Actually, Arnie Roth got out his violin for one other piece, and he did a duet with the piano player of the main theme from Final Fantasy XIII and the battle music from Final Fantasy XIII. And Arnie Roth, I mean, the strings, the violins were unreal. They were unreal. They were so good. They were so good. The players were all just really good. It was good. I thought you'd find this interesting. They didn't play any pieces from Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy XII, or Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah,
which you would think made.
I'm a little bummed about not hearing anything from 9, because that game had phenomenal music.
And I know you love the music, and to me, that would translate the easiest to a chamber concert. Because a lot of it is. Even the opening theme is what? It's a couple like whistles or flutes or something. Whistles. It's a couple wind instruments, isn't it? I think.
I think the whole opening of the game is orchestrated, but you mean just like the title screen?
Yeah,
that's like not a lot of instruments.
Yeah, so it really surprised me. I really liked all of their selections. But I just thought it was odd, I didn't miss it at the time because I wasn't thinking about it because they have 13 games to pull from. But it was kind of weird. Oh, and there were 2 other things they played. They played a Chocobo medley, which was unbelievable, and they played the town music from Final Fantasy I, which usually I'm not into. Like Final Fantasy I, it's whatever, but the guitar just had this kick-ass kind of solo thing and just kind of took it away.
Nobuo loves his guitars.
Yeah, he does. So it was really good. So if you ever have the chance to go, I would highly recommend it. I don't know if it would have been worth 6 hours of freezing your butt off and being uncomfortable sitting in a line for
Probably
it,
not.
Me. But like I don't think you would have done that and walked away and been like, oh, that was worth it. But I'm such a mark for this stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's my thing. And speaking of lines. To transition into talking about actual video games, not just music, for the actual lines, when I was, any line I saw outside of any seminar or anything or whatever, every other person had their 3DS out.
Of course they did.
So I street passed. So I've had my 3DS since Christmas, and I had about 240 street passes going into the convention. How many do you think I got at the convention?
I'm gonna say you got 100.
I got 240-ish.
Wow, so you basically doubled the number of street passes.
Yeah. So that was good. That was my other like big takeaway from it is now you have to clear them though. So I'd walk for 5 minutes, take out my 3D, and I'd walk somewhere anytime we stopped anywhere for a restroom break or concessions or whatever. Just pull it out, clear the notifications, meet my new people. Okay, put it away. Boom.
Right.
And I played some. I collected puzzle pieces from them all, so I got like 200 some puzzle pieces from all these people for my little the puzzle piece
Right.
street pass thing. So that was kind of fun. And I got to enjoy my Street Pass games and kind of like indulge in them a little, which was kind of nice. Now, and I brought Bravely Default with me, but I didn't feel like clearing all those notifications every time.
Right.
But I could have gotten a town of 200 people in that game.
I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna let you talk now, though, because we
Yeah. So I kept playing. I'm still playing Arkham Origins, which I talked about a little bit at the end of the episode last week, and it it is feeling more and more just kind of bland as I play it.
still.
Yeah,
You're so hard on video games, John.
like I said, the battle system is still so much fun, and like that is enough to carry it for a while. But I'll give you an example. I met a villain named Anarchy, spelled with a K, and he had bombs throughout the city that you had to go defuse. And to do that, you just had to go fight a large group of people and then interact with the bomb. And then you did that, and that took a little while to do, just a little while, not long. But then you went to go fight Anarchy, and he was a guy in like one of those V for Vendetta masks, and all of his followers wear those V for Vendetta masks. And you enter their building, and there's like Anarchy signs spray painted all over the walls, and doing a he's like announcing over the loudspeakers about bringing down the the rich people of Gotham because they're holding down the lower class and blah blah blah. And I was just thinking, I was like, this is like a storyline that feels like it was written by like an 8-year-old. Like it was over the top comic book. Like it was beyond a good comic book story. It was just cheesy and dumb. So I was like way bummed out by that, right? And he is one of the there's a bunch of these like minor villains in the game, and then there's 4 arch villains, and the arch villains are they start off all blacked out, so you don't even know who they are. And it turns out that he was one of the arch villains. He was one of the 4 worst bad guys of Gotham. And he's like 17 years old. So it was like 17-year-old Anarchy was one of the arch villains in this game. So I was a little bummed out by that. It really kind of turned me off from the game. They are doing this cool thing that I don't remember them doing in the past Arkham games. I know they had crime scenes that you had to investigate using detective mode. I remember that. And you had to like flag different stuff, right? That was definitely something you had to do in the past Arkham games. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Am I just imagining that?
No, you're not.
Okay. In this game, they have Batman do a full-on like detective analysis of a crime scene. And he's got this really cool device, and good on them for not even bothering to try to explain why he's got it in this game and not in future games. But in this game, he's got this device that can analyze. You go into a crime scene, and you look for evidence like on the ground and on the walls and stuff, and you scan it. And once you've scanned enough of it, it creates a crime scene that is time-lapsed, and you can scroll forward and back to find even more clues through the crime scene. And it does it in detective mode, so you see like detective mode is almost like an X-ray in the Batman games. So
It's
you
pronounced
like see
Dre.
so you see like skeletal structures of people when they're in the crime scene, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But for instance, like the first real big one that you encounter, you walk into a building and there's like somebody dead on the ground, and then there's somebody dead hanging from a chandelier. So you start analyzing some of the stuff that's there, and then eventually you get to the point where you can you can go like you can time lapse the scene, like I was just saying, and so you start from the beginning, and you like watch the person come in and like shoot one of the so there's somebody that you don't know, you just have clues about this person, walks in, so it's like a shadowy figure, shoots one of the people in the head, like gets on the ground, uses that person's arm to fire up at the person hanging from the chandelier to kill this woman and stuff. And so it's almost like creating this weird film noir detective thing in the middle of this beat 'em up.
Is that good? Do you like
Yeah,
that?
no, it actually works very well. It works surprisingly well because you analyze all this evidence to start, and then Batman's like, well, I need like something like I need something else, and so to find that something else that you're looking for, you do this time lapse procedure, and then somewhere in like the middle of the actual animation of the crime happening, another clue will pop up that is only you could only find it at a certain point in time
Timestamp.
of the crime. So like it gives you like an excuse to go back and forth and rewind and go forward in time with these crime scenes. And I don't know how many there are in the game. I've done a couple, but they seem really cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that's like a cool little addition. So yeah, I like that part. But if there's more stuff like Anarchy, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it. I mean, it was unsatisfying. It was distasteful.
Speaking of distasteful, we love women here at Unqualified Gamers.
We do. That's actually a fact. Well, most of us. You hate them.
No, that you're thinking of zombies. I hate zombies. I love women.
I thought you were going to say zombies hate women, but everybody knows that.
Zombies probably hate women. They probably hate, men too.
Yeah, I would think so.
But I don't know. But we love women, and I commented in my Arkham City review that every henchman calls Catwoman the B word.
Yeah,
like every single one.
And I way remember that. It was overt and
unnecessary.
Way excessive. This game has none of that.
Okay.
It's much more vanilla.
Okay, so they fixed that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm all for swearing in games, but it was like, I'm not like a hardcore feminist or anything, but I was just like...
It was unnecessary.
Yeah. It stuck out because it was so in your face, kind of, so yeah.
Well, but other than that, Blizzard is running for a 10th anniversary, or for a first-year anniversary for Diablo 3, they're running a 100% increased chance of finding legendary items when you play the game.
How do you feel about that?
It has already borne fruit for me as I've been playing with the limited amount of times that I get to play it. So
you found like a legendary apple or something?
Right. That was one piece of fruit. I mean, the plural of fruit is probably still fruit, so it could be multiple pieces of fruit.
No,
an apple, yeah, for sure.
Fruits is the plural of fruit.
I think you could also pluralize fruit by calling it fruit, like a basket of fruit.
We have now said fruit so many times that fruit has lost its meaning.
Yeah, now I don't actually know what we're talking about anymore.
Like, I'm not sure what a fruit is. I could use a fruit massage.
But a basket of fruit is still multiple fruits.
Well, I call it a fruits basket. That's the name of an anime. Brought it back around. Ha ha! I win. That was awesome. That was awesome. Thank you, and I'm awesome. Well, that's exciting. I know we'll talk about some video game news in a second. I won't go into detail with stuff, but you know what I downloaded on my Android device on my phone?
What?
Plague Inc.
Aha, yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
It is.
Yeah. John reviewed Plague Inc. in our first 10 or 15 episodes.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. And when I got my new phone last month, I was just wanted to get some games on it, threw it on there, and it is really fun. I haven't paid for anything. I just played the free version a couple times, but it's I don't know if
You have to strike this delicate balance. You're a bacteria or virus or prion or something contagious that is out to just wipe out all of humanity, and you have to strike this really delicate balance by being like a really infective disease. So you want to spread quickly, and you want to be deadly, but you don't want to be too deadly because then you kill off people too quickly, and then they like quarantine you. Like it's really good. It's really well done.
yeah, it's an interesting balance of how quickly you spread it, how deadly it is, and how a couple other things like what climates it can survive and things like that.
I always found the best way to play it was to create a disease that spread just ridiculously fast but did nothing. Like I would make a disease I would make a disease that did not cause even symptoms possibly, and then once it got everybody infected, I would mutate the shit out of it and just make it kill everything in like go from not having any problems at all to suddenly people dying like rapidly. But at that point, everybody's infected and there's no way to find a cure. So that was the best way I found to play it.
Right, and when you were explaining the game, I had no idea what kind of game it was because I thought you did a terrible job of explaining it. But when you clarified it, it was fine. But for those who didn't hear that episode, you just have a map of the world. You touch which country you want the disease or whatever to start in, and then it automatically spreads. It's like a very, very fast forward version of like Farmville or something else, where the game kind of plays itself. As time lapses, you accumulate points you can use to upgrade the virus, and
they're basically decision points.
Yeah, and basically, your decisions dictate kind of where it goes. So it's I could see. I haven't paid for it because I could see it getting repetitive after maybe a handful of sessions. So I'll probably continue the free version, but we'll see.
When they throw in some of the more advanced like viruses, once you have to like. Because the first few that they give you are pretty easy in terms of what they do. Like some of the later ones are much harder to use. Like there's one that starts off super deadly, and that's really difficult to spread it because you get like alerted. The CDC gets alerted, and the World Health Organization gets alerted when you're using that disease immediately. And so, like, you have them working on a cure for your disease basically from the start of the game. So it's really difficult to make that one work. I don't think I've ever won the game with that one.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, I also think the news ticker is funny. So the way you're updated on all of this stuff is there's a little news ticker at the top of the screen, and it'll say things like, this country quarantined, or this country's government collapsed because everyone in it's dying.
Dead.
And
yeah.
Stuff like that. But they update it because when I was playing it, one of the ticker things was gamers around the world start worshiping Helix Fossil.
I haven't played it in a long time, but that's pretty great.
Yeah, and there were a couple other like similar like kind of topical ones around
that's
gaming.
Cute.
Oh, one of them was International Goat Union demands what's it called? Royalties from video game license. As a reference to Goat Simulator.
Sure.
Or something like that. So would have been a lot funnier if I'd remembered it in like less than 10 seconds. But
that's cute.
Yeah, it's a fun little cute game, and I like it, and that's been fun on the side. I am still working on Bravely Default, which I picked back up, of course. I'm shelving Pokemon Y for a bit. I'm close to 400 Pokemon, but I could use a little break from it because I do want to finish Bravely Default. And I've been playing a lot of Street Pass games. Obviously, I plan on streaming again soon. By the way,
Good.
Saturday morning seems to be a nice time for me to stream.
Yeah,
because I don't do things on Saturdays because I have no friends. So there's that.
Well,
Speaking of having,
Saturday like afternoons. That's what that's for. It's for like chilling out and like recovering, from the week.
That's true. And speaking of not having any friends, guess what YouTube did?
Got friends?
Was that a good transition?
It wasn't a good transition at all. You actually had the transition there when you talked about streaming. Like, you screwed that up badly.
Oh, speaking of streaming, YouTube did something.
Yeah, that was a much better.
Very good segue. Was that a better transition?
It's a better segue.
Was it a better segue?
YouTube bought or is buying. I don't know if it's like finalized yet. I haven't.
Or will buy. It's not finalized yet.
It's happening though. They're buying Twitch TV. By far, I think by far the number one streaming service as far as video games go.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I think with Twitch TV that also includes Justin TV, which is the parent. I think that's actually the parent company of Twitch. That's where Twitch was born out of. Do you know anything about Justin TV?
No to you.
I don't know if this is accurate. I think it actually might be accurate. But there was a dude named Justin who put a camera on his head and just went about his daily life with a camera on his head, and that is what I believe, this is like what I read, started Justin TV. And from that has grown into Justin TV and Twitch TV. And from that, it is being sold for $1 billion. So that's pretty impressive, I think. But YouTube is buying Twitch. And as is wont to happen on the internet, people have opinions. Is that accurate? Did people have opinions about this?
They really shouldn't. There should be a law against that.
So the initial opinion is almost, God, I swear it's almost unanimously negative for this particular one. And I don't know if you've experienced the same thing. A lot of times with some of these other things, like, you get a lot of people that are, like, you get a vocal, maybe not even necessarily a vocal minority, but you just get a vocal group of people that don't like the decision. But usually you can also find people that are supportive of it and can make arguments as to why it might be a good thing. But from what I have seen, it almost seems unanimously negative for this particular merger. And again, I don't know if you've seen a similar thing. But basically, I think people are upset. People think that, because Twitch, I'll be honest, I love Twitch. Twitch is freaking great.
Right, yeah, who doesn't? We're gamers. Of course we do.
It is really great. And people are upset with YouTube because of I think when YouTube was first created, there wasn't any real monetization in there, so there wasn't advertisements. It was basically just anybody could put up any videos they wanted. It was like the Wild West of videos. Well, it has become so much more ingrained in culture now. They have found a way to make money on it, because they should, right? Because they're a company that has created it's a ridiculous website. Like, anybody can upload video. That's insane. So people are afraid that they're going to come in and, like, further monetize Twitch. Twitch is already monetized.
Right.
Like, they've already got a monetization like
structure,
tiers.
infrastructure.
Structure where thank you. For where, like, the most watched channels all have advertisements if you don't subscribe to them. And so I don't know what people are afraid of. Are people afraid they're going to, like, create more advertisements on them? Like,
they'll integrate Google Plus, so you have to comment using Google Plus now. Ugh.
So what? There's no, like, comments. There's no comments on Twitch channels anyway.
Well,
You're doing a really good job arguing against here. So here's what I have to say about it. To me, YouTube has a streaming feature. It sucks, right? It's not good. It's not integrated well, and it's not intuitive at all. So it only makes sense, the fact that they have not done any work to fix it. It only makes sense that they go out and acquire a company, the company that is doing it the best of any company. And if you were a large company that could afford to buy another company that is doing something well, you would do that. I mean, it makes sense, right? And I think Google's been really good as far as YouTube goes. Like, they don't charge anything for anybody that wants to upload video, right? You or I can upload as much video as we want. They do have a couple of hindrances in place where they'll limit the length of the video, but you can ask to have that lengthened, right?
They limit it initially until you upload a few videos, and then they lift the limit.
Right, and so there's like an artificial limit there that they lift, but for the most part, anybody can upload whatever they want to upload video-wise, and short of it being flagged as offensive content or copyright infringement that needs to be taken down, it stays up there. And they
Yeah.
host it on their servers for free, right? Like that
I
is
mean,
all.
I agree. I agree. Yes.
Well, no, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to say you don't. Although you did say, I can't believe all the shit that YouTube is going to do to ruin Twitch. You did say that
That is
today.
exactly what I said. That is
Yeah.
definitely exactly what I said.
But I just don't like. I don't understand what all the hullabaloo is. In fact, here's what I predict is probably going to happen because you asked me. I think YouTube is going to buy Twitch, and then I think YouTube is going to leave Twitch to do whatever the hell Twitch was doing. I doubt I think there's a chance. I think there's a good chance that they do nothing with Twitch, and they just start taking the money from it.
Yeah, people. Oh God, people.
And then
People are
maybe
so
down
dumb.
and then maybe down the road, they integrate it with YouTube because it only makes sense to eventually integrate it with YouTube, considering that they're both video hosting sites. They're both video hosting tools, right?
Right, and
So
integrating with YouTube will be a good thing because you'll be able to put more of your content on YouTube directly.
right. That's exactly right, because you wouldn't have to use Twitch, have them record a video for you while you're streaming, and then upload it to YouTube. All that could happen all instantaneously.
I don't understand. When did Google become a bad guy? Like, when did
I
people
think
start
it's when it
like?
got so big. I mean, it's huge, right? It's enormous.
But what are they doing? What are they doing that's so terrible to the consumer, to the end user? Putting an ad online? Are you kidding me? Like, the amount of free shit that we can do because Google is like, here, do this free thing that we're not going to charge you at all for any money, email services, translation services, Google Drive. I have 5 gigabytes I can just throw up on their servers, and they're just like, yeah,
15.
whatever.
It's 15 gigabytes.
It's 15. My Gmail inbox has 15 gigabytes. You
Yeah.
can, as you said, you can literally upload or watch any video on the planet at any time on any device
Maybe
for free.
maybe part of it is people don't realize just how many services Google offers, right?
It just blows my mind.
Like-
And for advertising of all things, for their relatively unobtrusive advertising, they're not having giant banner ads pop up and fill your window that you have to close. You have to wait.
Or ads in the middle of your video that take up space.
Which is not YouTube's doing. I explained this to one of our Google Plus friends earlier today. If there is an ad in the middle of a video, in the middle of it, that is because the person who posted the YouTube video enabled that feature to make more money from YouTube. YouTube does not mandate that. We at Unqualified Gamers, we have videos on YouTube, and there are several that I have not monetized because I don't want people to have to sit through an ad, and if they did, we don't have enough viewers to get revenue off of that. So
Right.
rather than have the 100 people that'll watch our video have to sit through an ad and give us a 3-cent kickback, I'm just like, well, who cares? We're not going to make money off it anyway. Let's take it off. For some of our more recent videos, I've put up ads, but there's one ad that plays at the beginning of the video. I could enable it so that once you get halfway through, you have to watch another ad, but I'm not going to do that because why would I? But people are getting mad at YouTube for the ads that are optional. Any ad you see on YouTube, every single ad you see on YouTube is enabled by the owner of that channel. Every single one. Any one of them. If a channel owner is running too many ads, get mad at the channel owner.
Yeah,
But-
and that's just an option. Like you said, that's just an option for the user to use to get money from YouTube.
Yeah, that's how they monetize, and if you think about it, if there were no way to make money on YouTube, you wouldn't have PewDiePie, you wouldn't have Smosh, you wouldn't have Philip DeFranco. Like, they would have made a bunch of cool videos and been popular and then stopped because they would have real jobs they would have to do.
And they would probably be hosted on their own websites. You wouldn't have all of that. You wouldn't have all of that aggregated into one kind of giant database.
Yeah, just the infrastructure that YouTube provides, and the services, and the data storage, and the speeds. My God, the speeds! You're streaming these videos after 5 seconds of buffering. Like, I don't get how people don't get that YouTube has changed the world, and for the most part, for the better. And oh my God, your life is so hard. You had to watch a 25-second advertisement
And
before.
you didn't even have to watch 25 seconds. 5 seconds in, you were able to skip the ad. You can skip all of their ads in 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, people's sense of entitlement pisses me off. And the person on our that I was talking to on Google Plus earlier, I said that, and he's like, "It's not entitlement. I just don't think a service should be worsened." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. Like, if you feel that you should be able to watch any video you want at any time on the internet ever and not have to do anything for it and just get it for free, no ads anywhere, then you feel entitled. You feel like I am entitled to completely free content from some magic content fairy of the internet that just magically lets me watch any video I want, because no one has to pay for servers or anything. No one's paying for that bandwidth. None of that's going on. No, there's just a magical fairy that puts billions of terabytes of video on the internet at all times for you to watch because you're that special. That's what happens. That's what happens. The kids these days, back in the day of dial-up, you had to pay $20 a month for an AOL.com account so you could have an email address. Now what?
Magical content fairy.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a real thing. Sorry, wow, that was a rant, wasn't it?
It was a little bit.
All right.
So anyway, I don't know what they could do to ruin it, but I'm sure there are things, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that YouTube's got a lot of really smart people working for them, and they're gonna recognize that Twitch has a good thing going. They're probably not gonna rock the boat too much with it. You know, they recognized that Twitch was only going to get bigger, and they bought it before it got bigger and was going to become more expensive.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
To me and to anybody that understands how the internet works. Do you remember the Oculus Rift acquisition deal with Facebook?
Yeah, which is even more awesome because they got like the same amount of money, and they were like a studio of 9 people, right? Or like 11 people.
Right.
Whereas Twitch is much, much larger than that. Twitch is Twitch has an infrastructure. Like, Twitch requires a lot of people to run. But Oculus Rift was just this, I don't know. That's such a cool story, I think.
Yeah, it's a good story. So I was thinking about this earlier because I knew we would talk about this on the podcast. And so people were super furious because Facebook is going to ruin Oculus Rift. And then now people are super furious because Google's going to ruin Twitch. And I thought to myself, when is the last time a company acquiring another company ruined something? And then I thought about, what is the most hated video game company in the world?
EA.
I thought it was Activision.
They're both up there.
But voted the worst company in America 2 or 3 years in a row. That was Activision, right?
No, that was EA.
Was it EA?
It was.
I thought it was Activision. Activision's pretty hated, though, right? Aren't they the one with that super outspoken CEO?
Yeah.
Okay. So
well,
everybody
they both have outspoken CEOs.
Okay. Well, everybody hates.
EA was the one that got voted worst company to work for.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
All right. Well, it wasn't to work for. It was just worst company.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay. So people hate Activision, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look how much they ruined World of Warcraft and StarCraft. Am I right?
That's a different thing. You know what? There's actually.
I was joking because they didn't ruin it, right?
No, they didn't. But that's a different thing because Blizzard has carte blanche no matter who they went with. Nobody would touch Blizzard. That's a totally different thing. There are actually quite a few instances where a large company buys a smaller company, and I can't think of any. None are coming to mind off the top of my head. I guess put it in a video game perspective, like. People probably think maybe Square Enix didn't do a good job with Eidos, I would think, when they bought them. But regardless, like, there are definitely bigger companies that have bought smaller companies. How about, here we go, how about Microsoft buying Rare when the Xbox 360 came out? And then
That did,
Rare just disappeared off the face of the earth.
yeah, that didn't go
They had
very
Rare
well.
made Perfect Dark Zero. Like, and that's just one. I promise you, there are lots of examples in the video game space of companies buying each other and then it not panning out well, right? Um, but Google like doesn't have a track record of doing that. So it's like AT&T just bought DirecTV for a lot of money.
Yeah,
AT&T has a track record of shitty customer service and being shitty to their customers. So people and DirecTV has a reputation overall. Like I'm sure you've got individual people who have had problems with it, but DirecTV actually has a reputation for very good customer service. So there are people that are legitimately concerned, and I think they have a legitimate concern in that case because a company with a reputation to be very bad to their consumers just bought a company that has a reputation that has been very good to their consumers. But Google has always been great to everybody,
yeah,
right? As far as I know. Like
yeah.
Like they've always been great to everybody. So they come out with this crazy technology and then they just give it to people to beta, like Google Glass. Like it's just like here's you people are influential. Have this new thing and use it if you wouldn't mind, so we can get some data from it. Let's give it to you,
Yeah.
right? Google Fiber. Hey, we're gonna pilot this thing in a couple of cities here in the United States. It's gonna give you 100 like gigabytes down.
A
Maybe
second.
maybe it's 1 gigabyte down
It's
a
it's
second.
a gigabyte a second or something.
A
It's a
giga, yeah,
lot.
we're going to give you 1 gigabyte down per second, and we're just doing this as like we're testing this. So you just have this, like, oh, maybe I think maybe they charge like $30 a month or something, like some stupid small amount. It's just like we're like just testing this. Like this is something we're trying, right? So like they've always been good to consumers. So when a company like Google acquires a company you like you should be excited because they have a track record, and maybe you think they had a misstep with the YouTube comments thing being integrated with Google Plus, but they're just trying to integrate their whole network. Like they're trying to make their whole network work as a whole to make it actually easier for you in the long run.
Yeah.
Like whether you understand that, right, whether you feel that is easy for you or not, like the act of making a Gmail account or making a Google Plus account, it probably wasn't that difficult. And if that's all you had to do to like make YouTube comments, it's probably not that difficult to do that, honestly, in the long run. But like they're a company that does good things for their consumers. So
Right.
I wouldn't worry too much.
And what was one of the number one complaints about YouTube since its inception is the comment section. So, and because people were just destroying each other in the comment section and leaving this and that and
Yeah,
just
it
touching
was
each other.
horrendous. It was toxic.
And you know what? They're not still great, but now they're not nearly as bad as they used to be.
Sure.
Because there is ownership. It is connected.
There's a little bit of accountability.
There's a little bit of accountability. And you know what? Good on Google. Why does no one ever focus on that?
Right.
You know, like, hey, guess what? We made one of the least civil places on the internet more civil. Like, wow, sorry you have to click 3 things to make a Google Plus account. Sorry your life is so hard. Sorry I made your life so hard that you had to click 3 buttons so you could comment for free and say whatever you want on this video you're watching for free that we let somebody upload for free. Like,
and we'll host it.
The sense of entitlement is just such garbage. And some people complain about Google collecting your personal data. And it's like, you realize that's how they make it work, right? So I made this analogy earlier. It's like if I'm Nintendo, we like Nintendo, right, on this podcast?
Nintendo.
We like Nintendo. If I'm Nintendo of America and I wanna advertise the Wii U, and I decide moms don't know enough about the Wii U, we should make an ad targeting moms that shows them the difference between the Wii and the Wii U, and we'll put it on the internet. They go over to Google, #1 search engine in the world. They say, hey, Google, start running our ad. Google goes, okay, and they start showing it to everybody. 75-year-old men are seeing this ad. 8-year-old boys are seeing this ad. Little kids that already own a Wii U are seeing this ad. Single people are owning this ad. People with income under $20,000 a year are seeing this ad who aren't in the market for a console. Like 50,000 people see the ad and maybe 100 people are in their target range. Then they have to pay a bunch of money. Well, the right people didn't see it, so consumers are like, well, that content's not relevant to me. Nintendo is now like, well, that was a waste of money. And then Google has to justify themselves. The system doesn't work. Advertising online doesn't work if you don't get data collected. Google's not sitting there trying to spy on you so that they can, like, give your info to the government. Let's not get into the NSA stuff. Everyone's doing weird stuff with that. But Google's not sitting there doing anything devious. They're just trying to make online advertising a viable option for advertisers.
Right.
So that there's, Google has created hundreds of thousands of jobs. I've worked with Google on half a dozen different clients' advertising campaigns. I'm working with them right now. I mean, we wouldn't be able to drive website traffic to unqualifiedgamers.com if I wasn't able to tell Google I want to reach these very specific people. And we've gotten a couple hundred hits since I started advertising because it works. They make it work.
Right.
And the end user, consumers need to realize Google is not demanding, they're not greedy, they're not asking for really anything except some automated cookies that get thrown into an algorithm so that you see content that makes sense. And I don't see how anyone on the planet can see that as bad. I don't know. I do know. People that are really bitching about this are not educated on how all this stuff works, and they're making too many assumptions.
So, bottom line is that if you're worried, Twitch is probably going to be okay, guys.
Twitch is probably going to be okay.
Probably going to be okay.
Marvel did pretty okay in the movies when Disney bought them. Not really worried about this.
The other piece of news that I wanted to talk about, and it was one that actually happened last week, but Xbox announced, Microsoft announced that they were going to drop Kinect from the Xboxes.
Yeah.
Which was always like, they beat that drum from the announcement of the Xbox One, but they're going to drop Kinect from the Xbox. I'm sure you'll still be able to buy it with the X. They'll be, it'll come bundled, but they're going to drop the price $100, and they're going to take Kinect out. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that. I do, but I was wondering if you do.
Yeah, and this won't be another rant, don't worry. But the only reason I found that interesting was because it was my understanding that Xbox kind of built the infrastructure of the Xbox One around the Kinect,
using voice commands to navigate the menu, right? And neither of us have Xbox Ones. We don't know anything about the UIs really.
Correct. So I no idea, but it was my understanding that the Kinect is a pretty essential piece of hardware for the system. I don't know. I think it is.
Well, that was their whole point. That was the point of them saying, "Hey, we're gonna make the Kinect be in every box."
Yeah.
Right. Like that was the reason why, because we have made this UI, this user interface, that is, by all accounts, cumbersome if you don't use voice controls. So you need to use voice controls to make it elegant, to make it work correctly.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what that was my understanding, and so that made me scratch my head a bit when they announced this. What do you think?
Right. So, I saw a great statistic by somebody I follow on Twitter that to launch a game that you have just downloaded from the Microsoft Store, you can do it with your voice by saying Xbox launch and then saying the name of the game. Or he said it took 95 button presses to get to the game in the user interface. I can't believe that. I think that might be a little excessive, probably.
Yeah.
But he said, and maybe he's counting like up and down on the control pad as a button press. I'm sure he is. But he said it took 95 button presses to get to the game that he just downloaded to launch it. So the point he's trying to make is that, yes, it is essential if you want to easily navigate the menus of the Xbox One. That's what he's trying to say. I think kind of the bummer, there's a bummer here for sure, and that's that as much as they pushed the Kinect technology, and as cool as the technology is, because it is cool technology, gamers don't care, and they voted with their wallets because Xbox put the Kinect in the box and charged $100 for it. Because obviously they're able to charge $3.99 without the Kinect. So with the Kinect it was $4.99. So gamers said, "All right, well guess what? We don't really want the Kinect." And the fault really lies on Microsoft because they did not do enough at all to demonstrate why you needed this Kinect, right? To my knowledge, there's been like one game that has come out for the Kinect for the Xbox One. Maybe that. Maybe even that. I don't even know if there's been one.
Yeah.
So you've got a group of gamers who adopted the Xbox One with the Kinect bundle, with the Kinect inside, and have they have nothing to play for it. The only thing that they have been able to do for it is navigate the UI. And that's cool, but I guarantee you, and I would feel the same way, that I don't want to pay $100 to navigate my UI better. Just give me the freaking controller and give me my $100 back.
Yeah.
And make your UI navigable with that controller.
Yeah,
I don't care how futuristic it is to talk to your system. I know that that's cool. I acknowledge that is cool. I own an original Kinect, and I bought it specifically because I thought it was cool. To which I have one game that I have played for it.
Yeah.
But I would feel so duped as an early adopter of the Xbox One because the only reason why I paid more for the system was because there was this piece of hardware that they're now calling superfluous. So I'd probably be a little upset.
I think I probably would be too.
Yeah. And I think it's an acknowledgement to Microsoft that they're just going to stop. Come on, they're going to stop support for it now. They're not going to make anything for it. There's no way because there's no reason
Kinect?
to. Yeah. There's no reason to.
Someone's going to. It's funny. You don't play Kinect. You don't really have friends that play Kinect. But my coworker, my old coworker John, had a kid. He's like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I'm really bad with ages, but he's got a little kid, and his kid loves
you couldn't tell that girl was 15. So.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to either. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, YouTube. Thank you for being admittable in the court of law. I'm sure that's helped some people. Just not me. Anyway, John's kid loved it. This little kid loved the Kinect and was constantly playing it and jumping around and stuff. So, there's an audience. There's certainly an audience. I guess the kids' games on it are really awesome. And
I have a baby, and who knows, maybe in 3-4 years, maybe Max will love to play on the Kinect.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Because I've got a friend with a kid as well, but he was and he played with the Kinect, but it was never his favorite thing in the world. No, that's not every kid, but I guess he did play with it a little bit.
I mean, as a device, I wouldn't knock it. I think it's cool.
Your early adopters of your system are not 35-year-old. They're not 35-year-old dad, right?
Maybe Microsoft thought they were. I don't know.
It's not 30. It's just not. It's not 35-year-old dad who is buying the system for their 3-year-old. And maybe that was a little bit of hubris, right? Maybe that was our Xbox 360 was so successful that the same people that bought all those systems, they're going to be the ones that buy. We know they're going to be the ones that buy our Xbox One as well on day one because they loved it, right? Maybe that was a little bit of the trap that Nintendo fell into as well. So Microsoft was, they may have said, well, because we know that we had so many people that bought our system and they just loved it, we're going to have that same number of people buy it again. We're going to be able to get this Kinect into their homes by putting it in the box, and then we can charge a little more for it. That's fine. But we'll sell you on it. We'll show you all the great things that this Kinect can do, and that was what that big press conference was at E3. Was to show you everything that Kinect could do. And kind of the proof was in the pudding now that the system has actually come out, because it obviously is not doing what they thought it was going to do. And there was a statistic that said, when the Titanfall, people were a little bit soured. You remember the whole console wars thing back at last E3.
Oh
People were a
yeah.
little bit soured over Microsoft over some of the decisions that they made, which they immediately backpedaled on. But there was some statistics that just came out in the sales reports this past, I want to say last month, and the Titanfall bundle. There was a Titanfall bundle that came out that made the Xbox come with Titanfall for $4.99, right? Which is
Right.
basically a free Titanfall. The PS4 still outsold Xbox One when Titanfall dropped over the course of that month.
Wow.
It was still outsold by the PS4. So that just shows you that like PlayStation listened to, Sony listened to their consumers. They heard what the early adopters wanted, and that is what they gave them. And Xbox didn't.
You know what I find really interesting? Jamie Butterworth just posted an article the other day from The Motley Fool, which is an investor's website. So this is legit business, not
Yeah,
some
I
weird...
read Motley Fool sometimes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So not some weird biased video game speculative thing or whatever. It's a legit business piece, and it was talking about how the PS3 has decelerated, or the PS4 rather, has decelerated in sales in Japan more quickly than the Wii U did after the Wii U's initial release. And now there's a chance that unless PS4 sales pick up in the next, it's got 9 or 10 months to pick up, but based on initial reports in the first few months of being out, PS4 could be outperformed by the Wii U in Japan. So Sony's not doing real hot over there, where apparently Japan is...
To be fair, I don't think that Japan buys consoles as much anymore.
Oh, no, they don't at all, and that's totally fair, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that shift really kind of come to life now, because you hear... I've read it in several articles. I mean, Japan's very, very, very mobile, and
Yes.
that's how Nintendo can print money with its 3DS, because the 3DS is still insanely popular over there, because it's also pretty much the best system ever. So that's doing gangbusters over there, and even Wii U is doing okay. It was funny because Jamie wrote a comment that was like, who knows, maybe Nintendo's next system will be some kind of hybrid, console / handheld or something like that. And I commented, and I was like, kind of interesting. The Wii U kind of is that in a way.
It kind of is. If they just had a basically, if your 3DS was your Wii U gamepad, you would have
Yeah,
a hybrid.
it's not mobile, but you can walk around your house with it.
Right.
So it's localized mobile, but it's kind of it's certainly more mobile than any other platform out there. So it's just really interesting the way that the world works is what I'm saying, because you were just talking about Sony listening to its consumer and things like that. Well, that's funny. Maybe they listened more to the American consumer than the Japanese, because they knew
more just that they listened to the group of people that they knew would buy their system on day one.
Yeah, maybe. I guess that makes sense.
They kept their value proposition going with their PS Plus. They gave free games away on day one for being a PS Plus member. That's crazy. I mean, that's awesome.
Cool.
It's awesome.
Although
right?
I've heard reports, and they did listen, but I've heard reports that they initially had the same DRM restrictions that Microsoft had, but when Microsoft announced them and Sony saw the backlash, that's when Sony just kind of quietly dropped that. But it was initially going to be there.
It doesn't matter.
And you don't think it matters because it's all about them listening.
It doesn't because it doesn't matter what they plan to do. It's what they gave you. It's what they gave you as the consumer.
Yeah. So I don't know what to say about the Microsoft Connect thing. I just don't know much about it. It was surprising based on what we talked about, based on how much they hyped it, and talked about how essential it was to using the system, and then suddenly it's like, well, no, you can actually use the system without it. It's odd.
I think probably the most interesting thing to me, especially as somebody who works for a large corporation and who knows the way that large corporations work, is that stuff does not happen quickly when you work for a large corporation. It takes a very long time to do things. That there's multiple reasons for that. A lot of times there's a lot of people that there are a lot of people that you have to check with to make sure everything is okay. You have to make sure everything is okay legally. And Microsoft has moved For a large corporation, they have moved so fast on all of the problems with the Xbox One, all of the things that they have found issues with. Like they have made very quick decisions. That DRM, that the backlash from last E3, the fact that they were able to change all of those decisions that they had made by the time the Xbox One came out, like 4 months later or 5 months later, that is insane for a large company, because they probably had all of their financial stuff that was all baked into like the stuff they were gonna like the factories they were going to use to make the Xbox Ones in the fall. That was already on the books. I guarantee it, because that's the way that companies have to do it, especially publicly traded companies that have to answer to shareholders. Like they had all of that stuff baked in, and they made that decision incredibly quickly and got that done. So like removing the Kinect, like I guarantee you that like that wasn't in the books this year, like, and it wasn't in the books for next year either. There's no way. So it's significant. I mean, they're at least being reactive in a good way, and they should be commended for that, because they're listening. Like
Yeah.
I just said, that's important. They're listening to you. So
Did you hear what Bill Gates said about the Xbox division?
I think he said that he would be okay selling it to somebody else, maybe something like that.
Somebody suggested that Microsoft should sell or get rid of Bing, and Bill Gates said that he thinks they would be smarter if they wanted to get rid of an arm of Microsoft to get rid of Xbox before Bing, because Bing
Interesting.
has more potential future revenue and things like that, which makes sense. It's a huge search engine.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's failing, Yahoo's still making money. People are still using Yahoo, so
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think Xbox still. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know what the financials look like for them. I don't know if they're making money or not. But I just thought it was interesting. I thought removing the Kinect was it's a big freaking deal, and it's not really something that you announce. Like that's a huge thing, and E3's coming in a month. So like, why wouldn't you just wait? Not even a month, a couple of weeks. Why wouldn't you just wait to do that? So I think it's interesting that they had made that giant announcement before E3. So like, what are they going to do at E3? It's going to be huge. Whatever they have to show at E3 is probably going to be awesome. If they
if
didn't announce this at E3.
well, I mean, last year Sony and Microsoft announced the Xbox One and PS4 before E3.
Yeah, but that's a little different, because that gives the consumer, in my opinion, that gives the consumer nothing. They're just like, oh my God, there's going to be a new system. Not only is there going to be a new system, there's going to be a new system that I get to see stuff for at E3. Because I don't care about just the announcement of the new system. I
Yeah, that
want
makes
to know
sense.
what's on the new system.
That makes
So
sense.
they were hyping it up at that point.
That makes sense. Get hype.
Yeah. I tell you what's going to be awesome, and I think maybe next week we should do E3 predictions, but just as a teaser, I think it would be hilarious if Sony was like, all right, we're doing a price drop on the PS4. It's going to be $50 less, because the whole point of this is to make price parity for Xbox and PS4, because Xbox thinks it'll outsell then. So if PS4 just came in and was like, all right, we're going to be loss leaders, it's fine, we're just going to do it, I think it'd be hilarious. I think it'd be awesome.
And Sony is pretty good at trolling Microsoft.
They did a pretty good job last year,
They
so
really did. Interesting. Console Wars Part 2?
it'd be pretty sweet.
What if Nintendo announces a new... Oh, they're not doing a thing.
They're
Never
not
mind.
going to announce that. I did see a leaked E3 list. We can talk about that next week.
Well, you can't make E3 predictions if you saw a leaked list.
Well, we won't make them about Nintendo.
Oh. Oh, it's just a Nintendo leaked list?
Yeah, that's all I saw.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to Smash Brothers, and I need to go to GameStop and pre-order Mario Kart 8 because oh my God.
Yeah,
So
Transistor comes out tomorrow. Super excited for that.
what's Transistor?
The new game by Supergiant Games, same company that did Bastion.
Oh,
That's
okay.
out tomorrow.
I will be picking that up.
I
Smash.
know, $15.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Good.
pretty-
Any other video games?
And the early reviews are that it's incredible.
Really?
Of course it's incredible. They made one game 4 years ago that was amazing, and then they didn't make anything else. And they're a small company that like has spent 4 years making a game. Come on, it's gonna be amazing.
That's fair. Is there any other video game news you want to talk about?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything.
I had my fill.
All right, well, let's see what.
Frankly, I've looked at your face for far too long tonight, so I'm ready to be done.
You're looking at my face?
What did the listener play?
I had porn on my screen.
I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, let's catch up on what the listeners have been up to. Angel, we always ask you, what did you play last weekend? And then you tell us, and then we talk about it, and it's kind of fun. Angel, I'm playing classic Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. You know, I never played KOTOR, did you?
Oh yeah, I played KOTOR multiple times, and KOTOR 2 once, but that one wasn't as good.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, the original KOTOR was so good. You're crazy. How did you not play that?
I don't know. How do you feel about none of the Star Wars games being part of the canon?
I don't care.
I don't care, except for Shadows of the Empire. Does that include Shadows of the Empire?
Yeah.
But Shadows of the Empire was a book, too.
Yeah, but none of the books are either.
Some of the books are, aren't they?
No, they said like all of the books are not part of all the expanded universe books are all not canon. That's what they said.
All of them?
Yeah. Which is fine, isn't it? I mean,
it's fine except Shadows of the Empire.
Okay.
It really bothers me that Shadows of the Empire is included in that.
Well, I don't know if it is. I'm just assuming it is because I'm pretty sure I saw that like they're all, but yeah.
Literally, one thing. I want one thing to be canon, and that is Shadows of the Empire.
Okay.
Because it stands. It doesn't change anything from the movies at all.
You should write an email.
All right. Miles is going to go old school with Star Wars Republic Commandos and some Lego Star Wars Complete Saga. There's a lot of Star Wars going on this week.
Apparently.
It's pretty cool. Tanya is going to play The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 3 on the... Can I just say, I think it's weird when you call a game something like Season 2, Episode something, like a video game.
It's a new way of monetization. They're getting good money out of that. And I've heard that episode is like the most intense one they've done so far of all of them.
I've heard they're all amazing.
Yeah, the first game was great.
I'm not into Walking Dead, are you?
No, but the game was awesome.
So you don't need to watch the TV show?
Not at all. It's different. I think it's actually the same characters, but it's a completely different story.
Okay. I'm going to pick it up. Kieran, let's see, playing Assetto Corsa mostly, getting serious on dropping some lap times. It's a racing game, I'm guessing.
It's a racing sim.
Yeah. But throwing in a bit of P cars with that? Maybe that's a typo. Cars.
Nah, it's probably P cars. We just have no idea what he's talking about, which is fine.
Okay. Also finishing a playthrough of Bioshock Infinite and want to get more Return to Castle Wolfenstein finished before the new release. There's a new Wolfenstein game?
Yeah. You didn't hear about that?
No.
Yeah, there's a new Wolfenstein game. Everybody's been clamoring for that. Dude, you killed Robo Hitler. Come on. It's awesome.
Is it called Wolfenstein Forever?
Robo Hitler. I don't know.
Is it called Wolfenstein Forever?
I don't know what it's called.
That was a Duke Nukem Forever reference, by the way.
It was really good. It was a really good reference.
Percy, the gamer, is going to play some Battlefield 4, Transformers Fall of Cybertron, and a bit of Call of Duty Black Ops 2.
Okay.
Good choices. I still got to try Battlefield sometime.
Gotta try this Transformers game.
I know.
It was on sale the other week. When it goes on sale again, I think I'm going to get it.
Yeah, you should. I've heard really good things.
I know. I have too.
Can't be worse than the movies. Hey-o! Are you going to see the new Ninja Turtles movie?
I don't know.
I'm not. It looks like garbage, and it's going to be stupid, and I hate it.
I mean, it's gonna have cars shot like women and women shot like cars because it's a Michael Bay flick. So
I can't do it. James says, this weekend I'll be trying to finish off Crusader No Remorse on the PS1. I am on the last level and it has only just started to become a challenge. Hope you all have a great gaming weekend. Oh, thanks, James. Crusader No Remorse. Do you know that game?
Nope.
We're both stumped. Sounds like fun. Treasy Chew, Lego Marvel, Dragon's Crown, and whatever else till my computer's fixed. I have to get a new video card, sad face. Aww. John's been there.
Yeah.
Jamie Butterworth. I'll be playing some Scram Kitty and His Buddy on Rails and some as yet undecided games.
If that's an actual game, that is a fantastic name. That means absolutely nothing. That's awesome.
Scram Kitty and His Buddy on Rails?
I don't know.
I'm sure he'll watch this and leave this in the YouTube comments. So if you're watching this on YouTube, check the comment section below. Jamie, I'm just really glad you told us that. Scram Kitty, real or not, I don't even care. That's awesome. Crawler3333, I'm still on the same Adventure Quest Worlds quest I was talking about some podcasts ago, but it's useless, useless, useless.
Still don't know what that is.
Yeah, sounds hard. Sounds hard. Vintage Gamer, Private Lee Brown, perfecting ultimate combos in Killer Instinct on the SNES, not the new one. So that's good, I guess, because we didn't hear the new one was great, right?
No, the new one was supposed to be pretty good.
I thought the new Killer Instinct wasn't supposed to be very good.
No, the new Killer Instinct was supposed to be pretty good. I didn't like the old one that much.
Oh, okay. All right, and Chris says, my weekend was more Puzzle Quest and a lot of Binding of Isaac. Good choices. John, Binding of Isaac is actually the first game we ever reviewed on this podcast. John reviewed it.
Yeah, I love that game. I love that game. That game's awesome.
I got it later, but could not configure it for dual stick controls with my 360 controller, so I got tired of it.
Oh, you didn't like it on keyboard? I think it actually works fine on keyboard. It's one of the few.
It probably works fine on keyboard. It working on keyboard is not the problem. I don't work on keyboard very well.
Fair enough.
And, you made me think of one more thing, actually.
That dumb. You're pretty dumb.
I'm pretty dumb. You made me think of something earlier.
Once and it's like,
okay, so I'm not listening to you anymore. You made me think of something when you mentioned Titanfall earlier. Did you know Titanfall? It's a video game.
Yeah, there's Titans that fall.
Yeah, sure. I Instagram videoed about it a week or so ago. Follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/CodyGoff. There's a link on our website. But I was going to mention also, since we see so much of this on Google+, at ACEN, I would say over 10% of the cosplayers, maybe between 10 and 20% of the cosplayers, were from Attack on Titan.
Wow.
Like, an insane amount of cosplayers.
Okay, I should watch that anime, even though I don't watch anime.
I know, between 1 in 10 and 1 in 5 of the people there. Just everywhere you looked. Everywhere you looked. It was wild. It was insane. So, I kind of felt left out because I'm probably the only person at the entire convention that's never seen it.
Who didn't watch it, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think it's only a couple seasons or a season or I don't know. But I'll probably get it and watch it. So
it's on Netflix.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe watch an episode, see how you like it. It's insanely popular, as we've seen from Google+, where you can follow us. We have almost over 9,000 followers.
You know what's going to happen when that happens? Nothing really, actually.
Nothing really at all, actually. So
we're just going to have over 9,000 followers then.
Yeah, there's that. But all of our stuff is at unqualifiedgamers.com, including links to our podcast, YouTube channel, lots of other stuff, articles, guest articles coming down the pipeline. I've got some video I need to edit, but I left my MacBook charger at somebody's place, and he hasn't mailed it to me yet.
I don't even know how to use a mailbox.
So
I honestly don't even know how to mail anything.
I kind of need to have my computer plugged in order to edit video, since that takes a lot of battery power. So
I don't know what it is. Look, I'll have to try to do I just put a stamp on it? I'll figure it out.
Ask your wife to do it. Ask your wife to do it.
She might know how to use it.
She's really smart.
She is certainly smarter than I am. Way smarter than you are.
Well, I'm pretty smart.
She's way smarter than you.
I'm pretty smart. Like, I really am.
You're peeing your pants right now, aren't you?
Why would I be peeing my pants?
Because.
Literally, what does...
Because you didn't get the cue from your brain to get up and go to the bathroom. I'm watching you.